the Russ Center for Media in downtown Cape Girardeau. Welcome to Focus on Southeast, a monthly program on issues and events impacting the campus of Southeast Missouri State University. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. Today we're talking with Southeast President Dr. Carlos Vargas. Good to see you again.
Dan, thank you very much. Very nice to see you.
So some restructuring. Let's talk about, with August coming here, we have some new college structures and some new leadership maybe, or some interim leadership appointments, and there's been a institutional restructuring. There's a lot. So let's dive right in and kind of talk through some of the things that are going to be happening.
Sure, absolutely, yes. Indeed, we actually have gone this last year. We went through a process that looked at every division at the university, and we tried to make sure that we looked at them with a critical eye to make sure that we were comfortable with the way that we're operating, and that we identified areas of improvement, and that we made the changes. Sometimes you continue to operate and start becoming too comfortable in the way that you're doing things, and you don't necessarily notice changes, small changes that take place. So it gets to a point where it's important to look at what has changed and how you need to adjust your business processes to make sure that you do a better job. Okay. We actually engaged in a process to review. We reviewed every division: finance and administration, athletics, advancement, enrollment management, and student success, every one of them, including, of course, academic affairs. Now, academic affairs is at the center of what we do. Right. And so that becomes more visible in many ways, and it's something where faculty are also part of that. And so we went through a whole process that actually took a little bit longer than in the other cases to adjust and find out what kind of structure we felt was the best as we move in this new era of increased competition and in the recruitment of students, and where we need to become increasingly innovative and creative as a university to offer programs that are relevant for the students, that are going to put them in a position of being highly competitive when they're looking for jobs. So we did a whole series of analysis, and we took actions, and we, in the area of academic affairs, for example, we reorganized our colleges. Again, I think it's important to note that this reorganization, all that, did not affect the curriculum in the programs, did not affect the accreditation of the programs, and we'll talk about accreditation in a little bit. So that the students can be totally comfortable understanding and realizing that the degrees that they were getting continue to be the same quality, and actually improved the quality when we could, and made some changes to do that. So accreditation is in place, the faculty are in place, access to the faculty and advisors is in place. There's nothing like that. What we did is we reorganized the framework around which these programs are clustered, and that's what the colleges are. So, so now we have 5 colleges at this point. What we ended up with is colleges that it's important when you have your portfolio of programs and the colleges that they're in, that they be such that the community, the students that are looking for programs in the university, have an easy time understanding how we're organized. Because that also sometimes keeps people away when they don't understand exactly how we're organized.
Well, and the university is large, so if it's laid out in a way that makes sense, that really helps a lot, especially when you're looking for where you want to go to school.
That's right. Yeah. So we, and we didn't. It's interesting because the process that we went through allowed us to go through some introspection. In faculty and departments went through introspection to try to understand who they were as a department, for example, as a program, and where they wanted to go. And that's something that oftentimes you don't spend time doing, really looking and reflecting on who you are.
You just do your day-to-day, right?
That's right. So
would you say it was a painful process, or did people embrace having to stop and look? How did people look at the process?
well, probably there was a sort of a distribution of feelings. I would say, not sure that painful would have been the word that I use. I would probably use more somewhat stressful, somewhat there's a little bit of uneasiness as to exactly what's going to happen. We all like to operate in ways that we feel comfortable with and we understand. So there was a little bit of that. But I think I'm hoping that as time goes on, we can confirm my suspicion that that the way we ended up being structured is going to be one that's going to be beneficial for the university and for the students. So we have 5 colleges. We continue to have a College of Business, but now it's going to be the College of Business and Computing. We put the Department of Computer Science in there. In particular, our cybersecurity program is going to be housed in that college. So it's a Donald L. Harrison College of Business and Computing. Dean Alberto Davila is the one that he came from Texas, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. And he came in June 1st, and so he's going to be the dean there. He is the dean there. The College of Education now is the College of Education, Health and Human Studies. Dr. Diana Rogers Atkinson is the dean in that college. She had been here before as dean of the College of Education. We have the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and that is the dean is Dr. Hamner Hill. He is the interim dean at this time. The Holland College of Arts and Media. So the School of Visual and Performing Arts became a college, and we incorporated the Department of Media in it, and so now it's called the College of Arts and Media. And Ms. Rhonda Weller Stilson is the dean of that college. She used to be the associate dean for the College of Liberal Arts, which is where the School of Visual and Performing Arts was. Now we have now in place a College of STEM, College of Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. We felt it was important to create that kind of structure around all the STEM programs that we have. Not all of the STEM programs are there. Strictly speaking, nursing, for example, is a STEM program, but it is not in there. So there's a few places where we may not be as consistent as you would like. It's not 100%, but nevertheless, it's mostly consistent. Ms. Barbara Glacken continues to be the dean of the Kent Library. So that's still there. And now we have Marcia Blanchard is the dean of regional campuses. We didn't have that position before. We had 3 directors in the 3 regional campuses, Kennett, Malden, and Sexton. And now Ms. Marcia Blanchard is now the dean for those campuses. Includes, by the way, the Cape College Center, which is located here in Cape. And so we are organized in what I would say in a more consistent way.
Well, when you talk about the College of STEM, I think STEM is something that students, high school students looking, and parents are going to know what that is. It's talked about a lot now, so to name, that seems to sort of make sense.
I think it makes sense. I think it does too, and it also brings those disciplines together, and hopefully there will be more interaction. I think the future of higher education is to continue to promote interdisciplinary programs, because the reality is when the students finish and they go into the workplace, they don't find problems that are only in one discipline. The problems they find are multidisciplinary, and so they need to have the ability to have a good understanding of how the different disciplines come in contact with each other, and to be able to contribute to that multidisciplinary challenge that they face outside in the real world.
And critical thinking skills. You may know a little bit about one area. You may not have to be an expert in it, but enough to know you can carry on a conversation and maybe provide some input on it. And that's what employers will be looking for, as you said before, problem solvers.
Yes, problem solvers is what we need to produce, and that's what we are focused on. And making the students career ready is so important. So
a lot of things happening with this new semester.
There are a lot of things happening, and we're excited. We were having a meeting with executive staff yesterday, and I was telling them that I felt excited to be facing some of these challenges, because that's what you want. You want to be able to look at something that is changing and figure out how you need to adjust to make sure that you take advantage of that situation and then contribute to it in a positive way, which is what we're asking our students to do.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's take a short break. We'll continue our conversation with Dr. Vargas in just a moment. You're watching Focus on Southeast. We'll be right back.
I hope I didn't go into too much detail.
No, that's exactly what I was hoping.
It's going to be hard work, but you've never let that stop you. At Southeast Missouri State, we put that will to do to work for you. You won't just learn in lectures. You'll get your hands dirty, your skills strengthened, and whatever you do, you won't be going it alone. You can do this because you earn everything you get, and what you'll earn here will pay off out there.
Facing life's difficulties takes strength and determination. Whether it's physical challenges or struggles you can't see, it takes strength to ask for help when you need it. Learn how other veterans have reached out and hear their stories of strength and recovery at maketheconnection.net.
You can sing in the shower and doodle in the margins of a notebook for the rest of your life, or you can push your creativity to center stage and develop the skills to back it up. At Southeast Missouri State University, you can surround yourself with minds that are as creative and weird and beautiful as yours, at a campus dedicated exclusively to the arts, with classmates who share your passion and faculty who know the industry. You've got talent. Let's see what you got.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. We're talking today with Southeast President Carlos Vargas. So I want to spend some time talking about re-accreditation of the entire institution. Now, we've talked about program re-accreditation, and I've learned a lot about that, but this is a whole different thing. This is the institution as a whole, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it has a major impact on what the university does.
Right, that's correct, yes. Now, that's a very interesting topic, because I think we in higher education tend to throw around the word accreditation, and we don't necessarily explain what it is. And it's a simple concept, but I think we need to do a better job at explaining to people what is it that we talk about. So institutional accreditation, which is more commonly known as regional accreditation, is a process by which every institution of higher education in the U.S. Gets essentially the go-ahead to operate as an institution where they can actually participate in the federal student aid program. If you're not accredited, you cannot participate in that.
And I didn't realize that. That's a major
And that absolutely, because if you don't have that access to that federal student aid program, you are going to be very limited in the number of students that are going to come to your institution. So it really is a make or break kind of thing. So, but not only is that the case, accreditation is really nothing but a process where you need to show that you actually are satisfying certain quality standards to operate as an institution. And they are, as you said, very broad in terms of an institution. They have to do with, certainly they look at academic standards, they look at governance standards, they look at integrity of the institution in terms of the degrees that it offers, and you have in place proper protocols and guidelines as to when you award a degree and what exceptions you make for this or that requirement. I mean, everything, it has to do with the integrity of the degree. If you award degrees without paying attention to the quality control issue, then what is your degree worth? That's a question that comes up in people's minds.
Well, and this is a big enough thing. I mean, from what I understand, you get a monthly briefing about this and how the university is doing, and it looks even at some things you mentioned, but the business model, the university culture.
Yes.
When I did a little research to learn about this, and I was amazed at how comprehensive this is.
Yes, absolutely. And so there's 6 regional accrediting agencies in the U.S., and we are part of one, so we are part of the Higher Learning Commission. The Higher Learning Commission is the one that accredits a region of about 19 different states in the general central part of the U.S. Okay. And so, if you think about any other institution in Missouri and Iowa and Michigan and all these states, they're all accredited. They all have to be accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. And so in order to be accredited, as I said, you need to satisfy certain standards. So accreditation is a process. If you are accredited, they give you accreditation for a period of, it depends on the mode or the model, but typically 10 years. Okay. So in order to get the accreditation or the re-accreditation, when it's already been given to you the first time, then you go through the re-accreditation process. It is a process that consists of the institution developing a self-study. Self-study means you sit down and you write down how you operate and how you satisfy these standards that I was talking about. And so you write what you think you're doing. Then you submit that report to the accrediting agency, the Higher Learning Commission. The Higher Learning Commission then identifies a number of people, could be between 5 and 7 individuals that are also members of other universities and have expertise in different areas. And they look at the document and they read it and they see what you say you do.
Then they check your work.
And then they do, because then what they do is they actually come and visit you. So they spend between 2 and 3 days at your institution looking at the materials, in other words, the evidence that you have that justifies what you said in your document. They interview students, they interview faculty, they interview staff, they interview the president, the provost, the executive staff. They go through the whole thing. They want to know that what you said in your self-study is really, truly what you are doing. And they look at weaknesses in what you describe. They look at those areas where you may not quite be up to par. And at the end of that review, they write a report and they send it to you. And in some cases, they identify areas where you need to improve on, that you need to modify, that you need to adjust. The report from the visiting team goes then to a board of the Higher Learning Commission that does a review of that and then makes a decision as to whether you should be re-accredited or not, depending on what the team found. In many cases, the board will say, we don't find that you are doing quite well enough in this area, so we want a report in a year as to what changes you're making and what improvements you're making in this or that area. So it really is a process that is very. And
it's not a gotcha. I mean, they want to help institutions get better and meet the standards. So it's not a you're under the sword of Damocles where they're going to pull your funding. They really want to help get to where you need to be, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is a process of continuous improvement. They want to look at what you're doing and want to make sure they want to help you make sure that you do things in the proper way, and that if there's an area of improvement that you actually pay attention to it. Sometimes when you are in the institution, sometimes you don't quite see everything that's happening. So that team really comes in and helps you evaluate. It's really actually a good thing that we do that.
Well, and this isn't something you can cram for right before they visit, and that's
No.
why I'm guessing you get monthly briefings. It's a continual process
Yes.
that you're always working on, always tracking progress, always tracking where you need to work on, because it's that important.
Absolutely. I mean, simple things such as communication. When the team comes, they want to know how the president communicates with the institution. I mean, do you communicate with the institution on a regular basis? Do you have open fora, for example, where you meet with people? Do you have proper procedures to alert the faculty about changes that are going on? What is your process to approve academic programs? That's important too, right? You don't want a process that doesn't have quality, that is not meticulous and rigorous. So they look at everything. They look at the work of the students. They want to make sure that the students really are maturing and that they are becoming better educated in your institution. So it's just a really comprehensive process that they go through. So typical institutions start working on this whole process about maybe 2 years before the visit of the team.
Wow.
In our case, the team that is going to come and visit us is coming in September of 2019.
So we're hip deep and working on this now.
Yes,
That's what
we
that
are already
means.
working hard to make sure that we write our self-study report, which has to be provided to them by, I believe, December of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working on that. We have formed teams. We're looking at the various standards. We identify the standards and we give it to them as a challenge. Okay, so you have to write on this standard. And so they need to look at all the documents that pertain to that, put them together, and make sure that they review the process. For example, how do we allocate resources? How do we allocate resources to the institution? How do you develop your budget? Everything, all that is part of the process here.
Very interesting. Let's take a short break.
Sure.
We'll continue our conversation with Dr. Vargas in just a moment. You're watching Focus on Southeast. Stay tuned. So you can see my...
Yes, I know.
National forests are essential to life. Majestic and grand, they clean our air, supply drinking water to millions of Americans, and provide homes to countless wildlife. They fuel our imaginations and inspire us to think big. Now, our national forests need us. Fires and natural disasters destroy millions of trees each year. That's why we're replanting our forests from coast to coast. Visit arborday.org. See how you can help.
I am a veteran. I lost both legs in Vietnam.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory was getting my benefits and a good education.
DAV helps veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned,
I'm a veteran. I didn't want to admit it, but I have PTSD.
so veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory was finding help and learning that I wasn't alone.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
At Southeast Missouri State, we know agriculture can mean so much more than working on the farm. It means research and lab work that lead to profitability and sustainability. It means creating new jobs that other people haven't even thought of yet. It means the spirit of entrepreneurship and the desire to make your own way. You want to do something groundbreaking beyond plowing fields. So let's get started.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. We're talking today with Southeast President Carlos Vargas. I'm going to spend a little time, we have a few minutes left, and I'd like to talk a little about soft skills and training. In the world we live in now, there's a lot of technology and devices where what we're doing right now, having a conversation, is not as used as it should be.
Yes.
What can we do to help students realize how important it is to have a conversation like this, like we're doing right now?
That's a challenge. That's a difficult question to answer. We are trying to do things. The question is, how effective are we being in communicating that to the students? And we need to figure out ways in which we can wake them up and shake them up a little bit. I mean, there are many students who get it. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Many of them. The question is, how do we reach? I oftentimes give examples of this, and I say, how do we reach not the students that are in the first or second row, but how do we reach those that are in the last row in the classroom?
I used to sit in the back row. I shouldn't tell you that, but I did.
Exactly. How do we reach those students too? And so that's the part that we're trying to work on very carefully. And in order to do that, I think we need to develop a multi-pronged approach. We cannot just do it one way. We need to use a variety of different ways so that we can get some mechanisms are very effective with some students, and others are effective with other students. So how do we get to all of them and make them understand that they need to reflect, and I use this word often, they need to reflect on what they are doing, not just on a minute by minute basis, but what is it that they are doing when they look at the 2 or 3 year span, down the road? And are they really helping themselves, or are they in some ways losing time that they could be using to make themselves more marketable and more attractive to businesses?
It takes some work.
It takes some work.
Dr. Vargas, it's been good talking with you again.
Thank you very much, Dan. It's enjoyable.
Focus on Southeast is a collaboration of KRCU Public Radio and the Department of Mass Media at Southeast Missouri State University. Just a reminder that portions of these monthly conversations with Dr. Vargas will be broadcast on KRCU, and our entire conversation is also available as a podcast. Just search for Vargas Speaks. From the Russ Center for Media, I'm Dan Woods, General Manager of KRCU Public Radio. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when we focus on Southeast.